Today we're going to be talking about the justice of God as opposed to the mercy of God. And before we explore this, I want you to get clear in your mind that whatever God is, He fully is. So if God is patient, He is truly and perfectly patient. And any time where it seems that He's stopped being patient, it's not because He ran out of patience. It's because the right thing to do is to show impatience. He always is perfectly right in who He is. And He is, if He is just, perfectly, utterly just. If He is merciful, He is perfectly and always merciful. The thing is, how do those two appear with God all the time? How is this even possible? Doesn't it seem that one has to give way to the other? I mean, we do want a just God. And when we hear about some pedophile or some serial rapist or a murderer or whatever, it burns within us. Where's God? Where's the justice? How is this and when is this going to be put right? And we hate it if we go to a school teacher or a policeman or whatever and report something and they don't seem to do anything. We get angry with the courts for issuing ridiculous sentences for serious crimes. We go, where is the justice? We want justice. And we want a God who is just. It's in our nature because we're made in His image. And we do have a God who is just. Now we're waiting for some of that justice to be fully delivered and seen. We do have a God who is just. Now, if He is just, and if all unrighteousness is dealt with by this just God, then at some point, surely He's going to have to compromise His mercy. While He's delivering justice, He can't be merciful. Or maybe what we really want is a loving and merciful Father who is always forgiving of all sin, who would never harm another soul, who loves, watches over and cherishes everyone, and is always merciful, would never punish anybody, and is deeply gracious and loving and kind. We want this kind of God for ourselves, don't we? We want the justice of God for those sinners. We want the mercy of God for ourselves. The point we're on about here is, how can He be both? Doesn't one have to give way to the other? Let me illustrate with the judge on the bench. Now, the judge's job, as he sits on the bench, is to uphold the law. Thank you. He's got his gavel and bang! He administers the law. And he must act justly. Now, brought before him, let's say, a single mother in Depression times in England, starving to death, who steals a loaf of bread to feed her young daughter who's going to die of starvation. How is this judge going to deal with this woman who stole bread to save her child from dying of starvation? Will he be merciful and kind? I mean, this is a desperate situation and calls for some mercy. And yet the law forbids stealing. What kind of a judge says, oh, well, you broke the law and you stole, but oh, well, it was justified because of the circumstances, so, stuff the law. How's he going to deal with this? How's he going to uphold the law and yet recognise the need for mercy? I'll tell you what he does. He hears the evidence, he takes his hammer and bangs it down, and he says, guilty. Fine, £10 or 30 days in prison. Then he reaches into his wallet, takes out £10 and he pays the bailiff. See, what the judge has done in this case is he's been just and he's been merciful. Now, how does God do this? How does God be just and merciful? How does he be just and merciful? How does he be just and merciful? See the picture? Can you see how there's only one way that perfect justice and perfect mercy can come together? It's in the death of Jesus Christ. It's in that place where he himself takes the punishment for sin, so that we who are unrighteous can be shown the mercy of God. And yet, the guilt of our sin is paid for. It's paid for by Christ. Justice and mercy, perfectly shown. It's only possible in one place.